Hey guys, welcome back to the MCU HQ. In preparation for No Way Home, I am going back and reviewing all three Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films as well as both Andrew Garfield Spider-Man films before we see their return in Spider-Man No Way Home. So on Thanksgiving, I put out my review of the original Spider-Man film. Go check that out. I also made a playlist so you guys can go through and see all my Spider-Man reviews. So when it's done, there will be a complete playlist there. I'm also going to do a supercut of all three films in the trilogy put together, and I'll do the same thing when I have the Andrew Garfield ones done. So without further ado, let's hop into my review of Spider-Man 2. And to quote Tobey Maguire,
he whooped the first one's ass.
Who's behind the mask?
Spider-Man 2 is one of my favorite comic book movies of all time. It has one of the best stories in a comic book movie. It has one of the best villains in a comic book movie. It has one of the best action sequences in a comic book movie. Almost everything about this movie is perfect. And let's talk about Peter Parker in this movie. This is just poor man. I had a writing teacher last semester who was absolutely right in this assessment. She said that one of the best things you can do for your story is to essentially put your protagonist in a tree, and instead of helping them down, you just throw apples at them, and then you watch them overcome their obstacle as the story unfolds. And yeah, I think she's right with that metaphor. But I think she should simplify it and just call it doing the Spider-Man 2. Anything that can go wrong to Peter Parker in this movie goes wrong. His life absolutely sucks in this movie. He is having a bunch of trouble balancing being both Peter Parker and Spider-Man. He's failing school, he can't get a job, his relationship with MJ, or his friendship with MJ, is starting to fall through. Same with his friendship with Harry, because Harry's mad that Peter takes pictures of the man who he suspects killed his father. Aunt May is broke and is about to lose the house. Peter has even worse money problems than Aunt May. He also gets paid to basically slander himself because he has to take pictures to give to Jameson. The Jameson then prints in the newspaper to antagonize Spider-Man. And on top of all of that, he loses his powers. And all the stuff I just mentioned doesn't even have anything to do with Doc Ock being in the movie. Now, what would make Peter's life better would to stop being Spider-Man, but he doesn't stop being Spider-Man. It's not because he wants to be Spider-Man. It's pretty clear in this movie he doesn't want to be Spider-Man. Spider-Man just absolutely ruins his life. So he doesn't do it because he wants to. He's Spider-Man because he feels like he has to be Spider-Man. Because with great power comes great responsibility. It's a message I didn't understand when I was little. And that might be why I didn't like Spider-Man 2 as much as 1 and 3 when I was little. Because it didn't have as much action. Because it was just about just a lot of talking and story. And I didn't like that when I was little. But now those are all my favorite parts. Yeah, Peter is just, I mean, he has a great storyline in this movie. He's a great character. But you know who's not a great character? Mary Jane Watson. So MJ likes Peter. Peter likes MJ. We know the drill. But at the end of the first movie, Peter rejects MJ because he doesn't want to put her in harm's way. Because if anyone ever finds out he's Spider-Man, what will happen in the first movie will happen like every couple days, and that's her getting kidnapped and put in harm's way and all that. And so in this movie, Peter just keeps trying to not be in a relationship with MJ. He's just trying to be her friend. But Spider-Man keeps getting in the way, and he can't tell her that he's Spider-Man, and she keeps getting upset about why he's being the way he is, and he just can't tell her anything, and he really wants to, but he can't. And then MJ is kind of just a dick about it. She's not really that supportive. I don't know. He seems like he's going through some stuff, MJ. Maybe help him out if you care about him so much. And stop asking him to come to your show multiple times. First off, why are people going like 8 times? See it once, twice if you really like it, a third time maybe just for shits and gigs, but don't go again after that. How many times do you need to see the same play? It's the same thing with movies. People see movies 10 times in theaters. By the time you see it the 10th time, it's just out on Blu-ray. Why are you seeing it that many times? I saw Infinity War 3 times, okay? It's the limit. Do not see a movie more than 3 times. Don't see anything more than 3 times. And the longer it is, the less you should see it. Do you know how long plays are? Stop going. But what does MJ do? There's a ceremony for J. Jonah Jameson's son, John Jameson. That family really likes J's. What's the mom's name? Like Jacqueline Jameson? But that's not the point. The point is, MJ and Peter talk and he won't tell her anything. So what MJ does is she goes back inside and she accepts John Jameson's proposal. Now, a lot of people say she was just doing this to be petty, that she basically screwed both guys over because she only did it to piss off Peter. But that's not really true. The movie makes it clear that MJ does like this guy, but I think her accepting the proposal in the moment was because she was pissed at Peter. So either way, it's kind of dickish. But she does like the guy. That much is clear. But then she makes this poor, sweet man do the upside down kiss with her because she likes Spider-Man more than him. And then she abandons him at the altar of his own wedding. Someone should have told MJ that she's a terrible person. Would have been funny in the third one if Jameson hated Peter because he stole MJ from Jameson's son. That would have been funny as hell. Although that would be another thing that was in Spider-Man 3. MJ hatred aside though, one of my favorite scenes in a superhero movie is when MJ figures out that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Now, I'm going to play 2 scenes for you, and don't even let me know which one's better, because I already know which one you're going to pick, because one of these is infinitely better, and the other one is from Spider-Man Far From Home.
MJ,
I'm Spider-Man.
What?
That's what you were gonna say, that you're Spider-Man.
No. I'm not Spider-Man.
Something you guys will learn in my Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 review, coming soon to an MCU HQ YouTube channel near you, is that I love scenes where just a bunch of information is conveyed to the audience in like 5 seconds without a single line of dialogue being spoken. And that's what happens here. In just a few seconds, they don't even say any lines, but they just look at each other and it all clicks. MJ learns why Peter wasn't with her and why he was trying to keep to himself and why he had missed everything. And it basically ties up his arc of the movie. It ties up the whole film. And they don't even need to say a line. They don't even need to say a joke. The movie just takes itself seriously. It's not there to make us laugh. It's there to be a good movie. And you know what that scene is? That is the writing of Mr. Alvin Sargent. Great writer. Rest in peace. We'll be talking more about you in the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man video. So we talked about the worst character in this movie. Now let's talk about the best character in this movie. Dr. Octopus, played by the great Alfred Molina. Doc Ock, I mean, everyone said it at this point. He's one of the best villains in a comic book movie. He's so cool. We're also going to be seeing him again in less than a month. Hell yeah. And Alfred Molina plays the shit out of Doc Ock. And did you know that for a lot of shots when he's kind of standing around, the arms aren't CGI. In action, they're CGI, which, by the way, the CGI in this film is better. Every film in this trilogy is a step up in terms of CGI. But they were puppets, and there were puppeteers on the arms controlling them. They just don't make them like they used to, man. The single best scene in this movie and the single best scene in the trilogy and one of just the best scenes in a superhero movie. I've been saying that a lot in this video. I'm not done. One of the best scenes is the train scene from start to finish. And it's really the final battle of the movie, because the actual final battle is more of Peter Parker versus Otto Octavius, whereas this is Spider-Man versus Doc Ock. And there's such a good attention to detail. It's not just like a fist fight. There's some fun stuff they do in there that you don't necessarily always notice. There's one where they're fighting on the side of the train, and Spidey starts to slip, and he casts a web to brace himself on two sides so he can regain his balance, and then gets back to fighting Doc Ock. Of course, when he goes between the trains is great, and I've always liked when he gets kicked off the train and he like snowboards behind it. But you know what I hate is the driver of the train, who asked for Spider-Man's help. He's the one who told Spidey to come help, and then when Spider-Man tried to help, he had the audacity to say this.
Any more bright ideas?
I have an idea, asshole. Why don't you go try to stop the train? Oh, you don't want to? Yeah? Then stay back and let Spider-Man do his thing, alright? Dick. Of course, the scene when he's getting passed back along the train in Jesus Christ mode while the responsibility theme plays is just the dictionary definition of perfection. It can't be beat. There's no technology. There's no AI glasses. He doesn't need help from anyone else. He's just him being a superhero. And after it, they see his face and someone says,
He's just a kid. No older than my son.
and it's a really cool line, and then you start laughing when the camera cuts back to Tobey Maguire and there's just a 30-year-old man laying on the floor. Hey, can I talk about Aunt May for a second? I said that Rosemary Harris is my favorite Aunt May, but I didn't really go into it earlier because I was saving a lot of the talk about her for this movie. She has some amazing scenes in this movie, best scenes in the trilogy type stuff. Every scene in this movie is one of the best scenes in the trilogy, I'm sorry. So she has that scene with Peter where he reveals that he was at least partially responsible for Uncle Ben's death. A scene that has really become, I mean, not even exaggerating here, not kidding in any way, a scene that has become one of my favorite scenes. But then there's the when she's moving and she says to the audience and directly to Peter why Spider-Man means so much to so many people, and it makes you think that she might know that Peter is Spider-Man, but she doesn't say it. It's just subtle enough to make you think it's not on the nose one way or the other.
I believe there's a hero in all of us that keeps us honest, gives us strength, makes us noble, and finally allows us to die with pride, even though sometimes we have to be steady and give up the thing we want the most, even our dreams. Spider-Man did that for Henry, and he wonders where he's gone. He needs him.
There's also that great scene when Peter doesn't know what to do and he has this vision with Uncle Ben, and then it leads into him deciding not to be Spider-Man anymore.
I'm just Peter Parker. I'm Spider-Man. No more.
And then it is the exact frame from the comic. But the movie's not perfect. I do have some issues with it. Some of these are nitpicks that I can get over when I watch the movie. I don't even pay attention to them. But I'm going to mention them here so that way I can immortalize my opinion on YouTube for people to hate it for years to come. This one's not a nitpick. This is legitimate. When Harry sends Doc Ock to capture Spider-Man, he gives Doc Ock a very specific and very clear set of instructions.
Don't hurt Peter!
But that's only half my issue, alright? I'm willing to cut Doc Ock some slack because he probably wasn't listening. Those arms are really loud and he was on a mission. But here's my issue. Doc Ock does not know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. He does not know that Peter has powers. And at this point, Peter doesn't know that Peter has powers. But Doc Ock decides to start this questionnaire by throwing a car at Peter Parker's face. So if he didn't have spider sense, his head would have gotten chopped off by a car, and there goes Doc Ock's information and Doc Ock's tritium. Something else that a lot of people take issue with is how many hits Doc Ock can take. This is a nitpick, I can look past this, but the idea is Doc Ock's not a super soldier, he's just a guy with metal arms, and Spider-Man's punches are really tough. Spidey actually has to pull his punches or else he'll punch people's heads off. That's how strong he is. But pulling punches or not, a normal man cannot take as many punches as Doc Ock takes. I think it probably would have been cooler if the arms always blocked the hits, and every once in a while when Spidey hit Doc Ock, he would be incapacitated and the arms would have to step in and defend him while he got up, because we know the arms work independent of Doc Ock, so when he's down, the arms can still fight. Just a bit more of that, but we don't watch these movies for realism. Spidey also tried to kill Doc Ock several times. He throws a giant metal clock hand at Doc Ock's face. So, I mean, I guess that's karma, though, for throwing a car at him, so I'll let it slide. And my last and legitimate issue with this movie is the burning building. I get its purpose in the story, but it just feels like an unnecessary rehash. Like, we just had a burning building in the first movie. We don't need another burning building. But those negatives aside, Spider-Man 2 is a great movie. It's one of the best superhero movies. It's my favorite live-action Spider-Man movie. If Into the Spider-Verse didn't exist, it would be my favorite Spider-Man movie. But I'm going to give it the same grade, because I do have some issues. I'm going to give Spider-Man 2 an A. You guys have it. That was my review for Spider-Man 2. What did you guys think of Spider-Man 2? And what did you guys think of my review? Let me know all that down in the comments below. Also leave a like on this video, subscribe, click on the bell icon, so that way you get notified when my review of Spider-Man 3 drops, as well as my reviews for the Andrew Garfield films. That's going to be it. Have a great day, guys.